Picture two women. Both are in their late 70s. One lives in Ohio. She takes 7 prescription medications. Her joints ache before she gets out of bed. She hasn't left the house much in the last 2 years. Her skin, her energy, her sharpness, all of it has been quietly leaving for the past decade. The other woman lives on a small island in southern Japan. She wakes at 5 in the morning. She tends her garden. She cooks her own meals from scratch. Her face has lines, yes, but her eyes are bright and her posture is straight, and when you shake her hand, the grip surprises you. She is not on any medication. She has never been inside a hospital except to visit someone else. Same age, different worlds, different bodies, different faces. And here's the thing that changes everything. The second woman is not genetically special. She is not wealthier. She did not win some biological lottery. What she has done every single day for 7 decades is eat the same food her grandmother ate. Today I'm going to show you exactly what was on that kitchen table. 20 foods, all of them Japanese, all of them backed by a growing body of science that is finally catching up to what Okinawan and Japanese elders have known for centuries. Foods that protect the skin from the inside out, that slow the cellular processes behind aging, that preserve the brain, the joints, the cardiovascular system, and the one thing that shows age faster than anything else, your face. And stay with me, because number 12 on this list is a compound so effective at blocking the enzyme that breaks down skin collagen that cosmetic companies have started putting it in high-end creams. But it's been sitting on Japanese dinner tables for 1,000 years. And number 17 is a seed so rich in a specific fat-soluble vitamin that researchers have only recently named it a longevity vitamin. And Japanese elders have been eating it on everything. If you want this kind of content every single week, ancestral wisdom, real science, zero fluff, hit subscribe right now and ring that bell. This channel drops every week, and you do not want to miss what's coming. Let's get into it. 20 Japanese superfoods that keep you looking young. Rank from remarkable to absolutely transformative. Food 1. Natto, the fermented morning food that rebuilds you from the inside. There is no elegant way to introduce natto. It is sticky. It is stringy. It smells like something that has been left in a warm place for longer than most Westerners would consider acceptable. And Japanese people have been eating it for breakfast every single morning for more than 1,000 years. Not as a curiosity, not as a health experiment, as breakfast. Here is why it belongs at the top of the list about looking young. Natto is made by fermenting whole soybeans with bacteria called Bacillus subtilis. That fermentation process produces an enzyme called nattokinase, one of the most clinically documented food-derived enzymes in existence. Nattokinase breaks down fibrin, the protein that forms the base of blood clots. The result is improved circulation, reduced blood viscosity, and measurably lower risk of the arterial vents, strokes, clots, cardiovascular blockages that age people dramatically and suddenly. But the skin story is in the vitamin K2. Natto is one of the only food sources of vitamin K2 in meaningful quantities. K2 activates the proteins that pull calcium out of arterial walls, where it hardens and stiffens, and direct it into bones. Less arterial calcification means better circulation. Better circulation means more oxygen and nutrients reaching skin cells. Japanese women who eat natto regularly show measurably better skin elasticity and bone density than populations eating none. The connection between bone structure and facial aging is direct. When the underlying architecture holds, the face holds with it. Traditional use. Every morning over rice with a raw egg and soy sauce. Not as medicine, just as a thing you eat before the day starts. Food 2. A concentrated leaf that fights the aging of every cell. Before matcha became a latte flavoring in airport coffee shops, it was a centerpiece of a Japanese cultural philosophy built around attention, stillness, and doing one thing completely. The tea ceremony was not about the tea, but the tea, it turns out, was doing something extraordinary the entire time. Matcha is not brewed tea. It is the entire powdered leaf consumed whole. This matters because a primary anti-aging compound in green tea, EGG or epigallocatechin gallate, is present in concentrations up to 10 times higher in matcha than in a standard steep cup. EGCG is one of the most researched polyphenol in nutrition science. Its documented effects on aging are multiple and significant. It suppresses inflammatory signaling pathways. It protects skin cells from UV-induced oxidative damage. It inhibits the enzyme MMP-1, the very enzyme that degrades skin collagen, and it activates autophagy, the cellular housekeeping process by which the body breaks down and recycles damaged components. Autophagy slows dramatically with age. When it slows, damaged proteins and cellular debris accumulate. The result is visible in the skin and energy in cognitive sharpness. EGCG stimulates it back. Matcha also contains L-theanine, an amino acid that crosses the blood-brain barrier and produces calm, focused alpha-wave brain activity without the cortisol spike of caffeine alone. Japanese monks drank it before long meditation sessions. Modern researchers call it a nootropic. The monks just called it tea. Traditional use. whisked with hot but not boiling water in a small ceramic bowl, slowly, intentionally, as if the preparation itself was part of the medicine. Because it was. Food 3. Rice bran oil and fermented rice bran the skin compound Japan has used for 400 years. Here is something most Westerners have never heard. In feudal Japan, the geisha, women whose profession depended on maintaining extraordinary skin, used fermented rice bran as a daily skin treatment and consumed it as part of their diet. Sake brewers in Japan were observed centuries ago to have remarkably young hands despite spending their lives in physical labor. Researchers eventually investigated and found the reason: gamma-resinol and ferulic acid, antioxidant compounds concentrated in rice bran. But the compound that changed the modern conversation is called inositol hexanicotinate, and more specifically, a lipid extracted from rice bran called ceramide. Ceramides are the fatty lipid molecules that form the barrier of the skin. They hold moisture in. They keep irritants out. As we age, ceramide production drops visibly. Skin becomes drier, thinner, and more prone to the fine lines that come from moisture loss rather than collagen loss. Japanese women consuming rice bran and rice bran products daily maintain the ceramide layer from the inside. The evidence from Japanese dermatological research is consistent enough that rice bran-derived ceramides have become a documented oral supplementation area in skin aging research. This is a food Japan has eaten for 400 years. The science just explained why it worked. Traditional use: fermented rice bran pickles, rice bran oil in cooking, and traditional nukazuke fermentation, the rice bran bed that also ferments vegetables, serving double purpose: ceramide delivery and probiotic benefit in one practice. Food 4. Okinawan purple sweet potato, the staple that fed the longest-lived people ever documented. For most of the 20th century, Okinawans ate purple sweet potato, beniimo, at nearly every single meal, not as a side, as the foundation. It accounted for more than 60% of their daily calories for generations. And Okinawa had the highest documented concentration of centenarians on Earth. Researchers who flew in to study this were expecting to find something complicated. What they found was a purple root vegetable. The color is not incidental. The deep purple pigment comes from anthocyanins, the same class of antioxidants found in blueberries and red grapes. These compounds are among the most potent inhibitors of oxidative stress identified in food science. Oxidative stress is a primary driver of cellular aging, the process by which free radicals damage DNA, proteins, and cell membranes. Every visible sign of aging accelerates when oxidative stress is high. Anthocyanins slow it down at the cellular level. They also protect arterial walls from inflammation, directly linked to cardiovascular aging. They cross the blood-brain barrier and protect neurons from the oxidative damage that leads to cognitive decline. And they have demonstrated effects on skin aging by protecting the collagen and elastin matrix from free radical degradation. The beniimo's glycemic index, despite the sweetness, is moderate because of its fiber content. It feeds gut bacteria. It delivers vitamins A, C, and B6. And it requires no processing, no supplement, no laboratory. It just requires eating it every day for a lifetime. Traditional use: steamed, boiled, or baked. Eaten simply and eaten constantly, because that is what worked. Food 5. Wakame, the ocean's anti-aging pharmacy, on a dinner plate. The ocean is the most mineral-dense environment on Earth. And wakame, the dark green sea vegetable in every bowl of Japanese miso soup, is one of the most efficient concentrators of that oceanic nutrition available as food. For skin aging, the story begins with fucoidan. Fucoidan is a sulfated polysaccharide found in brown algae and almost nowhere else in the food supply. Research has documented its ability to stimulate the synthesis of type I collagen in skin fibroblasts, the cells responsible for producing new collagen. As we age, fibroblast activity declines. Collagen production slows. Skin thins, loses elasticity, sags. Fucoidan has been shown in cell studies to reverse this decline at the fibroblast level, which is why it has begun appearing in premium skincare formulations. Japanese coastal communities have been consuming it in soup for centuries. Wakame is also rich in iodine, the mineral the thyroid cannot function without. Hypothyroidism is epidemic in modern Western populations and is one of the most overlooked accelerators of physical aging. When the thyroid slows, everything slows: metabolism, skin cell turnover, hair growth, energy. Japanese populations eating traditional seaweed-rich diets have among the lowest rates of thyroid dysfunction in the industrialized world. Beyond this, wakame delivers calcium, magnesium, folate, and the full spectrum of trace minerals that modern land-based agriculture increasingly strips from soil. Traditional use: rehydrated in miso soup, dressed with sesame and rice vinegar in salads, serve as a side dish alongside fish and rice. Daily, without ceremony because it needed none. Before we go further, if this is landing for you, if you're realizing you've been eating all the wrong things while the answer's been sitting in a Japanese kitchen for 1,000 years, subscribe right now. Hit that button. Ring the bell. We do this every single week, and the research only gets more interesting from here. Now, back to the list. Food 6. Tofu, the protein backbone of a civilization that ages slowly. The Western framing of tofu as a flavorless health compromise completely misses what tofu is within Japanese food culture. Tofu is not a meat substitute. It is a 1,000-year-old staple protein with its own culinary tradition and nutritional profile specifically suited to aging bodies. The collagen story matters here. Tofu is rich in isoflavones, specifically genistein and daidzein, that activate estrogen receptors in the skin. Estrogen receptors in skin cells regulate collagen production. When estrogen declines with age, in both women and men, though more dramatically in women, collagen production drops with it. The skin thins, the texture changes, lines deepen faster. Soy isoflavones activate those same receptors in a gentler, more calibrated way than pharmaceutical hormone replacement. Japanese women have significantly lower rates of severe menopausal skin aging than Western women, and researchers have attributed a meaningful portion of this to lifelong isoflavone consumption. Beyond skin, tofu's complete protein supports muscle maintenance, and muscle mass is one of the most critical and most overlooked determinants of how someone looks and moves as they age. Sarcopenia, the progressive loss of muscle with age, is directly linked to the physical appearance of aging, the loss of facial volume, the posture decline, the hollowing of the limbs, as much as it is to mortality risk. The centenarians of Okinawa ate tofu every day. Traditional use: in miso soup, grilled as ajidashi, eaten cold with ginger and soy sauce in summer. In every form, throughout a lifetime. Food 7. It's the small fish that built a nation of sharp-eyed, strong-boned elders. Long before anyone had invented a fish oil capsule, Japanese coastal communities were eating whole small fish, bones included, multiple times a week. Sardines, iwashi in Japanese, are as central to traditional Japanese food culture as rice, and the nutritional argument for eating them is among the strongest in all of food science. For looking young, the DHA story is the one that matters most. DHA, docosahexaonic acid, is a structural component of cell membranes throughout the body, skin cells included. When dietary DHA is adequate, cell membranes remain fluid and flexible. They communicate efficiently. They hold moisture. Skin that is deficient in omega-3 fatty acids is drier, more prone to inflammation, and more reactive to environmental damage, all of which accelerate visible aging. The same DHA that protects skin cell membranes is literally a structural component of brain cell membranes. When it is adequate, cognitive decline measurably slows. The research on this is not preliminary or contested. It is among the most replicated findings in nutritional science. Sardines are exceptional even within the category of oily fish because they are small, short-lived, and low on the food chain. They accumulate essentially no mercury or heavy metals while still concentrating omega-3s at levels comparable to salmon. Eating them whole with their soft calcium-rich bones delivers calcium in a form aging bodies absorb efficiently. Their vitamin D content supports calcium absorption, immune function, and the mood regulation that deteriorates when vitamin D is deficient. Traditional use: grilled fresh over charcoal, simmered in dashi, dried and eaten whole as a snack. The less done to them, the more they do for you. Food 8. Konnyaku, the zero-calorie longevity food that cleans the gut and feeds the skin. Konnyaku, also called konjac, is made from the root of the konjac plant and has been a staple of Japanese cooking for over 1,000 years. It is almost entirely water and glucomannan fiber, a soluble dietary fiber so viscous and so effective that modern pharmaceutical researchers have extracted and patented it for use in metabolic disease management. But Japanese grandmothers have been eating the whole food for centuries. Glucomannan expands in the gut to form a thick gel that slows digestion, stabilizes blood sugar, reduces cholesterol absorption, and feeds the specific strains of beneficial bacteria that produce short-chain fatty acids, the compounds that regulate inflammation throughout the entire body, including in skin tissue. Chronic low-grade inflammation, called inflammaging, is now understood to be one of the central biological drivers of visible aging. It breaks down collagen. It accelerates cellular senescence. It drives the dull, tired skin quality that sets in when the gut microbiome is imbalanced. Konnyaku addresses this at the root. Its glycemic load is essentially zero. Its caloric contribution is minimal. Its effect on gut health over decades of daily consumption is cumulative and compounding. In Japanese cuisine, it is eaten without fanfare, cut into blocks, simmered in broth, added a hot pot, because it has always simply been part of how people eat. Traditional use: simmered in dashi-based broths, added a oden hot pot, cut into noodles called shiitake, eaten regularly as a matter of course. Food 9. Shiitake Mushrooms, the forest medicine that keeps immune surveillance strong and skin clear. Shiitake mushrooms have been used in traditional Japanese and Chinese medicine for more than 2,000 years. Long before pharmacology existed as a discipline, practitioners prescribed shiitake for immune weakness, fatigue, and circulatory decline. What modern immunology has found inside the shiitake cell wall suggests those practitioners understood something real. Lentinin, a beta-glucan polysaccharide extracted from shiitake, has been approved in Japan as an adjunctive cancer therapy since the 1980s. Beta-glucans activate macrophages and natural killer cells, the immune system's first-line defenders, with a specificity and efficiency that most immune supplements cannot match. But the skin connection is in the aritatinine. Aritatinine is a compound unique to shiitake that reduces cholesterol by supporting bile acid metabolism. Lower LDL cholesterol means less oxidized LDL in the bloodstream, and oxidized LDL is one of the primary drivers of arterial inflammation and skin microcirculation damage. Inflamed microcirculation shows on the face. It shows an uneven tone in dullness and the loss of the natural flush that characterizes healthy, well-perfused skin. Shiitake also contains copper, a mineral essential for the enzyme lysyl oxidase, which cross-links collagen and elastin fibers to give skin its firmness and resilience. Copper deficiency directly contributes to sagging skin. Shiitake provides it in a bioavailable whole food form. Traditional use: fresh in stir-fries and soups, dried and reconstituted for deeper flavor and higher beta-glucan concentration. The dried version, rehydrated in warm water, releases compounds the fresh mushroom holds more tightly. Food 10. Everyday soybean hiding in plain sight at every sushi restaurant. Half the anti-aging world is obsessed with exotic supplements from distant laboratories. The other half is eating edamame at sushi restaurants without giving it a second thought. Edamame, young soybeans harvested before they harden, is quietly one of the most nutritionally complete plant foods available. Complete protein sufficient to support muscle synthesis. Folate critical for DNA repair and methylation, the epigenetic mechanism by which the body regulates which genes express and which stay silent. Fiber that feeds beneficial gut bacteria. Isoflavones that protect bone, vascular tissue, and skin collagen. Potassium that supports blood pressure. Vitamin K. All of it in a small handful of beans that cost almost nothing. The folate deserves particular attention in the context of skin aging. DNA methylation. The process folate supports is one of the primary mechanisms by which biological age is measured using what researchers call epigenetic clocks. People with healthier methylation patterns test biologically younger than their chronological age. Foods that support methylation are, in a measurable and documented sense, anti-aging at the genetic level. Edamame is not a dramatic story. It is just very good food eaten very regularly by people who live very long lives and look significantly younger than their Western counterparts. Traditional use: boiled in salted water in their pods, eaten as a snack before or during a meal, shelled and added to rice and salads. We are halfway through this list, and I hope you are beginning to see the pattern. These are not exotic supplements. They are not expensive. They are foods eaten daily for a lifetime by real people in real communities who consistently outperform a modern Western world on every measure of aging. If you haven't subscribed yet, now is the time. Hit subscribe, ring the bell, and share this with one person who needs to hear it. Now, number 11. This one is where it gets genuinely surprising. Food 11, Goya bitter melon, the aggressive Okinawan vegetable that rewires blood sugar. Right here, number 11, the one I mentioned at the top. Goya bitter melon is not a pleasant food by any Western standard. It is intensely, aggressively bitter in a way that makes most first-time tasters recoil. Okinawan elders eat it daily. They have eaten it every day of their lives. And researchers studying the Okinawan longevity phenomenon keep arriving back at Goya as one of the variables that cannot be dismissed. Here is the biological reason it belongs on this list. Goya contains a compound called charentin, along with polypeptide P and visine, which have demonstrated hypoglycemic effects in multiple clinical models. Measurable reductions in fasting blood glucose. Measurable improvements in insulin sensitivity. These effects matter for looking young in a way most people have never been told. The process behind it is called glycation. Glycation is what happens when excess glucose in the bloodstream bonds to proteins and damages them. The proteins it damages most visibly are collagen and elastin, the structural fibers of the skin. Glycated collagen becomes stiff and cross-linked in a way that makes skin lose its bounce, its softness, its natural luminosity. AGEs, advanced glycation end products, are now one of the most studied mechanisms behind skin aging. Every researcher working on anti-aging skincare is working at some level on glycation. Goya slows at the source by keeping blood sugar stable. The Okinawans didn't have a word for glycation. They just knew bitter melon made them feel well and look well into old age. Traditional use: stir-fried with tofu, egg, and pork in a dish called Goya shampuru. Eaten because it was there, because it was traditional, and because everyone's grandmother ate it. Food 12. Daikon Radish, the digestive engineer that clears the skin from the inside. Every traditional Japanese meal comes with daikon in some form. Grated raw beside grilled fish. Pickled alongside rice. Simmered in winter stews until it absorbs the broth around it. Its presence is so consistent that most people eating it have stopped noticing it. That is the exact profile of a food that has been doing its work quietly for centuries. Daikon belongs to the cruciferous family, which means it contains glucosinolates, compounds that break down into isothiocyanates, and indoles that support liver detoxification enzymes. Here is why this matters for skin. The liver is the body's primary detoxification organ. When liver function is sluggish, when it is overwhelmed by metabolic waste, environmental toxins, or excess hormones, the skin becomes a secondary elimination route. This is a documented dermatological principle. Skin congestion, dullness, breakout, and uneven tone are frequently manifestations of impaired hepatic detoxification. Supporting liver enzyme activity directly improves skin clarity. Daikon also contains active digestive enzymes, amylase, diastase, and esterase, that break down starches and fats and reduce the digestive burden on the pancreas. Reduced pancreatic stress over decades of meals means better metabolic function as the body ages. Its vitamin C content supports collagen synthesis. Its folate supports DNA repair. Traditional use: grated fresh beside grilled fish, pickled as takuan, simmered in oden, thinly sliced in salads. In every form, in every season. Food 13. Umeboshi, the salt-preserved morning plum that restores the body's chemistry. Umeboshi is one of the most extreme foods in Japanese cuisine. Intensely sour, aggressively salty. A single small pickled plum with enough acid to completely reorganize your understanding of what food can taste like. Japanese grandmothers eat one every morning. They have for their entire lives. The ume fruit, more closely related to apricot than western plum, undergoes a pickling process with salt and red shiso leaves that produces a chemistry significantly different from the fresh fruit. The resulting umeboshi contains citric acid in exceptionally high concentrations. Citric acid has documented alkalizing effects on the body's internal pH after metabolism. This matters for skin in a specific and measurable way. When the body's metabolic acid load is high from poor diet, stress, or inadequate micronutrient intake, cellular processes, including collagen synthesis and skin cell renewal, slow. An alkalizing food consumed first thing in the morning, before any other metabolic input, prepares the biochemical environment for better cellular function throughout the day. Japanese traditional medicine understood this intuitively. It called it clearing the system. Biochemistry calls it pH buffering. The pickling process also generates compounds that stimulate digestive enzyme production and appetite, making umeboshi a traditional morning appetite opener with a biochemical effect of preparing the gut for the day's first meal. A critical note: umeboshi is very high in sodium. Traditional consumption is one small plum, not a handful. In that context, within a naturally low-sodium overall dietary pattern, the benefits are real. Traditional use: one small plum with rice and miso soup in the morning, as a condiment, a seasoning, or a digestive remedy after a heavy meal. We are getting into the foods that most people have never even heard of, and these are the ones that the data keeps pointing back to as the most extraordinary. If someone in your life is trying to slow their aging naturally, share this video with them right now. And if you haven't subscribed, click that button, because next week's video is going to continue exactly where this one leaves off. Let's keep going. Food 14. Kombu, the invisible foundation of Japanese flavor and mineral nutrition. Kombu is the reason Japanese food tastes the way it does. It is a thick kelp harvested from the cold, mineral-rich waters of Hokkaido. When simmered in water, it releases glutamate, the amino acid that activates umami receptors and produces the deep, savory quality that defines Japanese cooking. Dashi, the foundational broth of Japanese cuisine, is made from kombu. Almost everything in Japanese cooking begins with dashi, which means almost everything begins with kombu. This is nutritionally significant because the minerals in kombu transfer directly to the cooking liquid. Every bowl of miso soup made with kombu dashi is delivering iodine, calcium, magnesium, potassium, and a suite of trace minerals that are difficult to source anywhere else in a modern diet. The iodine supports thyroid function. The magnesium supports over 300 enzymatic processes in the body, including the enzyme systems responsible for DNA repair and collagen cross-linking. Kombu also contains fucoidan, in even higher concentrations than wakame and alginic acid, a gel-forming fiber that slows gastric emptying, stabilizes blood sugar, and binds the heavy metals in the gut for excretion. In populations with environmental heavy metal exposure, dietary alginate has measurable protective effects on cellular aging. The fact that kombu is typically removed from broth before eating and the cooking liquid is consumed means most of its benefit is delivered invisibly through the food it flavors. It does its work without announcing itself. Traditional use: as the base of dashi broth in miso soup, noodle broths, and simmered dishes. Rarely eaten directly, always present. Food 15. Sesame Seeds longevity. See, Japan has put on everything for 10,000 years. In Japan, sesame seeds are not a garnish. They are a daily condiment. Ground into paste for dressings, toasted and scattered over rice and vegetables, pressed into oil used in cooking daily. The consistency of sesame in the Japanese diet over a lifetime as part of why its cumulative nutritional effect is so significant. And the research behind it is now calling sesame one of the richest dietary sources of a compound scientists have only recently named a longevity vitamin. That compound is sesamin, one of the primary lignans in sesame, and alongside sesamelin, it is converted by gut bacteria into compounds with documented estrogen-modulating, anti-inflammatory, and antioxidant activity. These lignans have been studied for their ability to reduce LDL oxidation, lower blood pressure, and protect the liver from oxidative stress. All of these mechanisms slow the aging process at the vascular and cellular level. But the skin story is in the vitamin E. Sesame's vitamin E content, primarily gamma-tocopherol, provides antioxidant protection to cell membranes that is distinct from and complementary to the alpha-tocopherol found in most supplements. Gamma-tocopherol is specifically effective at neutralizing reactive nitrogen species, the inflammatory molecules that alpha-tocopherol alone cannot address. These nitrogen species are particularly damaging to skin cell membranes, contributing to the cellular aging that shows on the surface. Sesame is also rich in calcium, zinc, magnesium, and copper in forms that ground or paste preparation makes highly bioavailable. 2 tablespoons of sesame deliver more calcium than a glass of milk. Traditional use: ground into sesame paste for dressings, toasted and sprinkled over rice and vegetables, pressed into sesame oil. Daily, in every form. Food 16. Why Yuzu, the Japanese citrus that does things lemon has never done. Yuzu is not a common fruit in Western markets. It is small, intensely aromatic, and produces relatively little juice per fruit. It is also one of the most nutritionally complex citrus fruits in existence, and one of the most extraordinary skin foods identified in modern nutrition research. The vitamin C concentration in Yuzu is exceptional, and vitamin C is the rate-limiting factor in collagen synthesis. Without daily adequate vitamin C, the body cannot produce new collagen regardless of any other dietary input. Without ongoing collagen synthesis, the skin matrix thins, elasticity goes, lines deepen, the structural integrity of joint cartilage and arterial walls declines. But Yuzu goes beyond simple vitamin C delivery. It contains asparagine, narrowrootin, and a specific flavonoid called eusoflavone that have been studied for anti-inflammatory, neuroprotective, and blood pressure-lowering effects. These flavonoids extend the metabolic half-life of vitamin C in the body, meaning the same dose of C from Yuzu is more effective for longer than C from a supplement taken alone. Yuzu's fragrance alone, bright and floral with a depth that lemon and lime don't approach, has been the subject of aromatherapy research, showing measurable reductions in stress hormones from the scent. Chronic stress elevates cortisol. Chronic cortisol breaks down collagen. A food whose aroma alone reduces cortisol is, in the most technical sense, anti-aging by smell. Japanese aesthetic culture treats Yuzu as something close to sacred. The zest goes into sauces. The fruit is floated in the bath on the winter solstice. The tradition is the body recognizing something valuable before the science could explain it. Traditional use: zest and juice in ponzu sauce, in hot baths during winter, as a flavoring in sweets, vinegars, and cold noodle broths. Food 17. SI, the medicinal herb Japan has used for over 2,000 years that most of the world has never tasted. Shiso is a large, jagged green or purple leaf that most Westerners have encountered on a sashimi or alongside sushi without registering it as something significant. In Japanese and Chinese traditional medicine, it has been used for respiratory disease, digestive distress, and food safety for more than 2,000 years. Modern analysis has found compounds in shiso that explain every one of those traditional applications, and add several more. Rosmarinic acid, the primary bioactive compound in shiso, is a potent anti-inflammatory antioxidant that inhibits the enzymes driving histamine response. Shiso has genuine and documented anti-allergic properties. This is part why it has historically been served with raw fish. Its antimicrobial properties reduce pathogenic risk, and its anti-inflammatory compounds moderate any immune response to what does come through. For skin, the story is in the alpha-linolenic acid content. Shiso is one of the richer plant sources of this omega-3 fatty acid, contributing to the overall anti-inflammatory fatty acid balance that characterizes traditional Japanese diets. Anti-inflammatory diets preserve skin collagen and elastin. They prevent the chronic low-grade immune activation that breaks down the structural matrix of the face over decades. Luteolin and apigenin, flavonoids present in shiso, have been studied for their ability to inhibit inflammatory cytokine signaling, reduce histamine-driven inflammation, and protect neurons from oxidative damage. Traditional use: fresh leaves wrapped around sashimi, minced into rice, shredded over cold noodles, used as a preserving leaf in pickle preparations. 3 foods left, and these are the ones that round out the picture. If you are watching this and you are thinking about making actual changes to how you eat, subscribe so you don't lose this channel. We cover this exact intersection of ancestral practice and modern science every single week. Hit subscribe. Let's finish strong. Food 18. Kabocha Squash is the orange anti-aging vegetable that protects your eyes and your skin simultaneously. Kabocha is Japanese pumpkin, dense, sweet, and deeply orange in a way that signals correctly that it is extraordinarily rich in carotenoids. Beta-carotene, the pigment responsible for that color, converts to vitamin A in the body. Vitamin A is indispensable to skin cell turnover, the process by which new skin cells replace old ones. When vitamin A is adequate, skin renews itself efficiently. Dullness clears. Texture improves. The skin looks alive because it is actively regenerating. When vitamin A is insufficient, that turnover slows. Skin becomes dry, rough, and dull in a way that no topical product fully corrects because the problem is internal. But kabocha is not just beta-carotene. It contains alpha-carotene, a carotenoid that epidemiological studies have associated with lower overall mortality in a way that few individual nutrients can claim. It contains lutein and zeaxanthin, carotenoids that accumulate in the eye's macula and protect against the oxidative damage that leads to age-related macular degeneration, currently the leading cause of blindness in older adults. Eating kabocha regularly is, in a documentable sense, protecting your eyesight decades into the future while simultaneously supporting skin health today. Kabocha is also naturally sweet enough to require no added sugar when prepared simply. In a traditional Japanese diet, it often stands in as a sweet element of a meal, ancestral satisfaction of the craving without the glycemic consequence. Traditional use: simmered in sweet soy broth called namono, roasted until caramelized, added to tempura, prepared simply in season. Food 19. Sencha Green Tea, the daily antioxidant ritual of 120 million people who age slower than anyone. If matcha is a concentrated ceremonial expression of Japanese green tea culture, sencha is the daily practice. Most Japanese households brew sencha multiple times a day. Elderly Japanese in Shizuoka Prefecture, Japan's green tea heartland, drink it from morning to night. They have done so for their entire lives. And Shizuoka consistently produces some of the longest-lived, most visibly youthful elderly populations in Japan. Sencha delivers EGCG, the same potent compound found in matcha, along with a broader spectrum of catechins, including epicatechin, epicatechin gallate, and epigallocatechin. The combination of these compounds and their natural ratios appears to have synergistic effects that isolated catechin supplements do not fully replicate. For skin aging specifically, green tea catechins have been studied for their ability to protect against UV-induced collagen degradation. They inhibit the MMP enzymes that UV radiation triggers to break down skin collagen. Daily green tea consumption has been associated in Japanese cohort studies with measurably better skin elasticity and moisture retention compared to non-tea drinking populations. Sencha also contains theanine and quercetin. The daily ritual of brewing and drinking it is neurologically a low-level stress reduction practice. The combination of theanine and the ritual itself has measurable effects on cortisol. Lower chronic cortisol means slower adrenal aging, better sleep quality, and reduced inflammatory collagen destruction throughout the body. Green tea consumption has been linked in large Japanese cohort studies to significantly lower rates of cardiovascular disease, certain cancers, and cognitive decline. These are replicated large-scale population-level observations from some of the most carefully studied populations in nutritional epidemiology. Traditional use: brewed fresh multiple times daily from loose leaves in a small teapot, not as a supplement, as a habit, as natural as breathing. Food 20. Tea is the ancient preservation practice that was gut medicine before anyone had a word for the gut microbiome. And here we are, number 20, the one that requires the most context to understand, because not all Tsukemono is the same thing. Tsukemono simply means pickled things, and the category includes both lacto-fermented vegetables with genuine probiotic activity and salt-cured or vinegar-pickled vegetables that are flavorful and healthy but not live-fermented. This distinction matters. True lacto-fermented Tsukemono, like nukazuke, vegetables fermented in rice bran beds that develop living bacterial cultures over days and weeks, are genuine probiotic foods in the same way that sauerkraut and kimchi are. The bacterial populations they contain colonize the gut transiently, contribute to microbiome diversity, and produce short-chain fatty acids that reduce systemic inflammation. The connection to skin aging is direct and documented. The gut microbiome produces short-chain fatty acids, butyrate, propionate, acetate, that regulate systemic inflammation. When the microbiome is diverse and well-fed, inflammation is low. When inflammation is low, collagen degrades slowly. Skin holds its structure. The gut-skin axis, the bidirectional communication pathway between gut microbial activity and skin immune and structural health, is one of the most active areas of dermatological research today. Japanese dermatologists have been pointing at fermented food consumption as a skin health factor for decades. The research is finally catching up to that clinical observation. The vegetables themselves, typically cucumber, daikon, carrot, and eggplant, retain their fiber through fermentation, giving beneficial bacteria additional substrate to work with. What Tsukemono represents in the broader context is a cultural habit of consuming fermented and preserved vegetables as a daily non-negotiable part of every meal, not as a specialty health food, as the thing that comes with the rice. Every meal, every day, for a lifetime. Traditional use: a small dish of mixed pickles alongside every meal, morning to night, varied by season, consistent by habit. 20 foods. Thousands of years of continuous daily use. The Okinawan and Japanese elders who made it to 90 and 100 with clear minds, strong bones, and unlined faces were not following a protocol. They were not taking supplements or tracking macros or reading studies. They were cooking what their grandmothers cooked. Natto in the morning, miso with every meal, seaweed in the broth, bitter melon in the stir-fry, green tea from sunrise to sunset, purple sweet potato instead of processed carbohydrates, fermented pickles beside the rice. Modern science, with its clinical trials and cellular imaging, keeps arriving at the same conclusions those grandmothers already knew. Fermented foods feed the gut bacteria that regulate everything else, including the skin barrier. Small, oily fish build the brain and protect the cardiovascular system and maintain the anti-inflammatory fatty acid balance that keeps skin cells healthy. Bitter compounds stimulate the detoxification pathways that clear the chemistry of aging from the body. Purple and orange foods protect the cellular machinery that ages fastest. Seaweed delivers the minerals modern agriculture has stopped providing. Daily ritual: the tea, the morning soup, the pickles with every meal, keeps cortisol low in the body in a state of steady biochemical balance. These things were not discovered in a laboratory. They were confirmed there. The most powerful anti-aging protocol ever identified is not a pharmaceutical. It is not a supplement stack. It is a pattern of daily eating, humble, consistent, ancestral, that a small group of people on a Pacific island figured out centuries before anyone had the tools to explain why it worked. And before you go, quality matters here as much as it does anywhere. Natto that has been properly fermented is not the same as the product that has been heat-treated and stabilized for mass export. Sencha brewed from fresh leaves at the right temperature is not the same as green tea extract in a capsule. Traditionally lacto-fermented Tsukemono is not the same as vegetables pickled in industrial vinegar brine. Every item on this list has a real version and a shadow version. The real version is the one that centuries of Japanese culture was built around. Start with one, add another, build the pattern, give it time. That is, after all, exactly how it worked for them. If this video gave you something real, drop a comment below right now. Tell me which food surprised you most. Are you Team Natto, Team Goya, Team Konnyaku? I read every single one and I reply. And if you are not subscribed to this channel yet, I want to ask you personally, why not? This is the content. Real food, real science, real ancestral wisdom that has been sitting quietly in Japanese kitchens for 1,000 years while the rest of the world was buying anti-aging cream. Hit subscribe, ring the bell, share this with one person whose face you want still recognize in 20 years. We post every single week and next week's video goes even deeper. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.